You know that feeling when you purchase a car that you've been excited to purchase and you want to show off to all your friends and family, and then when you pick up that car, you're driving it and you realize this car is everywhere and you don't notice it until you've actually purchased that car. Well, this is the same theory, the same thing that's happening in the real estate space with eXp. And in this video, I want to explain why I chose eXp as my brokerage of choice. Hi everybody, my name is Mark Belanger. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa, and I help families move into the Ottawa real estate market via relocation and or get out of the Ottawa real estate market via downsizing and other services. So if that's interesting to you, I'll leave all my contact details below. Let's get in touch and let's make that happen for you. Okay, so what I want to do in this video is I want to explain and I want to be fully transparent as I'm kicking off my YouTube channel on why I chose eXp as my brokerage of choice. I'll go through the compensation model, what makes it different, and really why I feel comfortable working through the eXp environment. First off on my list, it's really important that people understand that eXp is a 100% cloud-based, tech-driven organization. We do not have brick and mortar offices. I do not have an assigned desk that I can sit in with leather chairs and so on. It is 100% cloud-based. I log into my laptop and voila, I've got all the services and all the resources I need. Now there's advantages to that. Aside from no commute time, no small talk, I have a community of people in our database specifically for eXp and eXp Realtors. I log on, first and foremost, I have access 24/7, 365. This part is brilliant, probably the #1 reason why I chose from a tech perspective eXp. I literally will log in to eXp World, which is the database, and in eXp World I can log into different countries, different provinces within those countries, and then of course break down the individual categories that I need to speak to. So it could be contracts, or it could be accounting, or it could be finance or compliance, as an example would be a really good one. So I log into compliance in Ontario and I have a little avatar and I'm walking through and I see somebody that is in compliance in Ontario, and I will ask the person, in this example I'll name the person John, tap John's avatar and a microphone is activated and John starts talking to me in real time. Hey Mark, how's it going? What's your question? Hey John, thank you. Here's my situation. Here's my scenario. Can I get some help with this exact circumstance? And we go back and forth in real time until I get the answer, and then I go back to writing up that contract. This is brilliant because of the 24/7, 365, it is quite literally possible and probable that you and I are going to be working on a contract. It's probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night. Emotions are high, timelines are tight. I need answers and I need answers quickly. I have access to this resource 24/7, 365 in the proper geographic location. I get the answer, I continue with the paperwork and get that transaction done. I'm not convinced you can do that in a traditional brick and mortar brokerage, because after hours, people go home and so on, and then you're at the mercy of that person getting back to you, and you could potentially lose a day or two, or you got to wait back until Monday if it's over the weekend, potentially. So that is definite advantage #1 from a tech perspective. Advantage #2 is I log on to the eXp site. If there's a void in my calendar, I want to fill it with some training. I'm a new realtor, I have a lot to learn. I log in and it is peppered. There's over 50 hours of training every single week. I pick the category that I want. It could be anything from branding to social media training to CRM training to whatever the case may be. I'll fill in those time slots accordingly. Don't have a commute time. I don't have any distractions. I lock in and I go. And I'm not intimidated by that. I come from high tech. I think this part is extremely brilliant. And the last part from a tech perspective is they've actually white labeled Facebook. It's a Facebook product, so when you log in and I want to communicate with my colleagues, it is Facebook minus the branding. So that's cool. We all know how to run Facebook. I have my colleagues or my friends, I have my questions, I submit a post, I submit pictures. I subscribe to groups that I want to subscribe to. So for example, eXp Realtors in Ottawa, that specific group, and then we can communicate, bounce ideas, or ask for help or whatever on that chat session. So from a tech perspective, it is light years ahead of more traditional brokerages, and reason number one why I chose eXp. And you can start to feel, by the way, as I go through some of these advantages, why, going back to that analogy from the beginning, where you're starting to see more and more eXp signs on the front lawn versus the traditional brokerages that you're accustomed to seeing. It's kind of like the analogy of Tesla. eXp is to the real estate space what Tesla is to the automobile industry, a disruptive technology within the real estate space. So this is why I want to jump in on eXp. The second reason that I chose eXp is publicly traded organization has advantages to me, and it also has advantages to you. Being a publicly traded company, we're traded on the NASDAQ, I get shares in the company. I get incented. There's certain scenarios where they'll give me as a reward some shares. So I don't do anything different from my day-to-day work. I'm working with you to transact on a real estate transaction, but I'll get sprinkled some shares now and then, and all that will add up over time. So for me, it's an additional revenue stream, quite frankly. That's the advantage of being publicly traded. A lot of you work for high-tech organizations, you'll have the same option. That's really what keeps you there, quite frankly. The second reason that it's an advantage to you being publicly traded is because I cannot submit a transaction without it actually being vetted through eXp and through the system. So there is a compliance team, a contracts team that will go through the contract that we're writing together and go through line by line to make sure that in Ontario, in my case, in Ottawa, Ontario, that it is compliant with the rules and regs of Ottawa or in Ontario, and that every single bullet or addendum is appropriate, up to date, and approved. That means that when I get it approved, which by the way, oftentimes they'll say you're missing this documentation, you're missing a signature here or there or initials. So when they get it back to me and I slide it across the table to you, you should have the confidence in knowing that it's been vetted by a publicly traded company that does not want to be litigated in any kind of way, does not want errors. They go out of their way to make sure that it is perfect from a contractual perspective. So that is definitely a huge advantage that both you and I can take advantage of. The third thing is I just want to elaborate just a little bit more on the stock compensation plan. The business model that I'm referring to, which makes it a disruptive organization, is that there are 7 levels of sponsorship at eXp. So when I sell a home, there are 7 layers or 6 additional layers that get compensation when I sell something. So the amount is small, very insignificant, but it adds up over time, because if you have a huge amount of sales reps below the downline, you can potentially make a ton of residual money just by having them under you and supporting them and answering their questions. So when I have a question, I go up my upline and I ask the appropriate people who are quite literally incented to give me the appropriate information to keep me motivated, to make sure the retention is high and that I stick within the industry, because quite frankly, they get compensated if I do well. The 80-20 rule in most traditional real estate organizations, including eXp, we work off an 80-20 split. So when you sell or purchase a home, there's typically, not always, but usually a 5% commissionable earnings. So 2.5% to the listing sales rep and 2.5% to the buying sales rep, for a total of 5%. But when real estate is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, that can be a lot of money. And then you split 80-20. So 80% goes to the sales reps, 20% goes to the brokerages, and in my case, eXp. And I'll sell houses throughout the year or be on the buy side throughout the year, and money goes, that 20% continues to go to eXp. Eventually, I will give eXp $16,000 and I hit icon status. Icon status to me and you is like President's Club. It's like high achievers. You've made that 1%, the top 1%. And anybody in sales is always striving to be a high achiever, obviously. But when I hit that icon status, I get that $16,000 back in stocks. So tell me, if you were me, would you not want to be gunning for commissionable earnings? Yes, that's why we're all in the industry. And then on the flip side, get my stock compensation, my $16,000 back in stock compensation. So of course you would. And then added to that, small slivers of compensation for my downline, for people that come under me as they continue to sell homes. So to give you a slight perspective or a better understanding of the team that I'm aligned with, which is the team that you will have access to, I've done a lot of research on this before entering the real estate market. I reached out to Peter Tulin. Peter Tulin is an icon agent here in Ottawa, so I'm fortunate that he's in the same geographic location that I am. Peter has the single largest YouTube channel in Ottawa. He's a top producer, the top 1% realtor here in Ottawa. And Peter helps me on a daily basis setting up my YouTube channel. Thank you, Peter, appreciate that. And we also work with a small team, which is growing because more and more agents are looking to partner with Peter. And we have Rebecca Liu, we have Zoe Brown, we have Jordan Goodfellow. We will have more by the time you watch this video, but there's more and more people, and we meet on a weekly basis. So although we are virtual, we do meet on a weekly basis. So I tap into Peter. Peter's helping me with my YouTube. He's also helping me with Google. He's an expert in Google and Google My Business. So from a positioning and Google ads and whatnot, I go to Peter. Above Peter on his upline is Louis Galt, and Louis is in Denver, Colorado, and Louis is all systems, all process, all apps on your phone. He is really, really buttoned down when it comes to that, and I like tapping into Louis because he's got that brain that will help me sort of organize my day, organize my structure on how I sort of go about my business. And on top of Louis is Mike Sherrard. Mike Sherrard has 80,000 YouTube followers, and Mike is an expert on social media and social media training. So if, when I need to do a Facebook ad, when we need to post a house, it's Mike's training that will help me. It's Mike's tutorials, which by the way, we're on weekly calls, weekly mastermind calls, and he is the single largest attractor at eXp Realty. So for me, I get all of my answers, all of my questions answered by my upline specifically. Eventually, I want to have people under me that I'm mentoring and they're asking me questions. So let's fast forward a couple of years, and I hope to be able to do to them what my upline is providing to me. So that business model I think is really brilliant, obviously. And furthermore, all of this residual passive income on my downline, when I make a sliver of their sales, I can actually pass that on to my kids. So if my kids have an interest in real estate, and if they eventually get into it, as long as I maintain my real estate license, they obviously have their real estate license, they can inherit my book of business. So how brilliant is that? And not only that, if they don't want to get in the real estate space just yet, and what if, heaven forbid, I pass away, my book of business is also willable to my kids. So again, as long as they get their real estate license, they will have that passive income readily available to them for the rest of their lives. Just maintain the downline. So when you factor all things and you look at it objectively from my perspective, I could have worked at any other traditional brokerage that you might be familiar with, or I could choose a brokerage, which I did, which is very progressive, very disruptive, which is eXp. I get all the training, I get lower costs, I get a free CRM system, I get all the training in the world, I have a mentor program, I have a stock option program or stock purchase program, and it's willable and passable to my kids. So all in all, obviously determine, or you can figure out why you're seeing out there more eXp real estate signs than you've ever seen before. So now that you've watched this video, I challenge you, drive the streets, and you'll notice, you'll see the big players, obviously, but then you're gonna start to see eXp Realty. And eXp, by the way, is the fastest growing brokerage and has been the fastest growing brokerage in the world for the last 10 years. And now we're approaching 90,000 agents for eXp, and that's a pretty significant amount of agents. The material that I'm being trained on in the system is all being trained by icon status agents. So these are the top 1% realtors that are going out of their way to train other people, because they're incented to do that. The better we all do, the better they will do as well. I am not being trained by somebody who used to be in sales and is now in training. I'm actually being trained by top producing real estate agents at eXp. So it checks the boxes all the way through. So from that perspective, that's why I chose eXp. You're going to see more videos. You're going to see this is the way I'm going to communicate. It's all going to be layered into my CRM system. That's just the modern way of doing real estate today. So I hope it helps a little bit in justifying why I chose eXp. I appreciate you taking the time to spend a few minutes with me. And obviously I look forward to continuing my real estate journey and posting my real estate journey with you here on YouTube. So thanks for your time. I look forward to the next video. And until then, take care.